Have you ever moved somewhere and found out a bunch of stuff about the area that you didn't know before you got there, but you wish you had known it? Today I'm going to go over the things that I wish I had known when I moved to San Diego, or things I had forgotten about when I moved back to San Diego that will help you in your move. My name's Allesen. I'm a realtor here in San Diego, and I moved back to San Diego in May of 2020. Yes, crazy time to move. And there were a bunch of things that I had forgotten about San Diego, and then a bunch of other things that I learned that I really wasn't aware of when I lived here back in college, that I think were important to know, and I wanted to pass those on to you. So before we get started, please, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. It helps me know that people are actually watching, so I should keep making content. Otherwise, I start thinking I shouldn't make any more, but it's kind of fun. So give me a subscribe and let's get started. So the first one, I'm just going to start with the biggest. It's kind of the natural disaster category. So of course, California is known for fires and earthquakes. The big thing to know about this, besides that they happen, is if you are buying a house, especially on a canyon or further east where there's more open space around the house, fire insurance can get very pricey. So we recommend shop for your fire insurance for your home well before closing so that you understand how much it is. I would hate for you to get to the last week before closing. Escrow's like, hey, we need your home insurance, and you go and call around and find out, first of all, that there's only one or two companies that will cover it. State Farm is one. I've also heard that the General will. Not sure about all that. You have to call around. And then find out it's crazy expensive and you now can't afford it. So do yourself a favor, shop around for that early in the process, after you've gone into escrow, and just know that if you're on a canyon, which of course everyone wants canyon view, you're probably going to end up paying for it in some way on that. The next thing to know about is what's called Mello Roos. So Mello Roos is an added tax. You pay it with your tax bill, that has been put on homes since around 2000. So basically, if the home was built in 2000 or newer, there's probably going to be Mello Roos on it. And it is a tax that helps pay for the services in the new area. So when a new subdivision is built, you need roads, you need streetlights, you need fire departments, you need schools, you need all the services, playgrounds, parks, whatever. You need all of that put into place. So they charge what's called Mello Roos to pay for those services. Usually Mello Roos are on a property for 20 to 30 years. So if the house was built in 2000, the Mello Roos may have already fallen off, or it may be falling off soon, or part of it may have fallen off and there's only a little bit left. But they usually do have an end point. I've seen some that are in perpetuity, but those are usually a smaller amount. But this is something you will actually see in listing descriptions, because older houses that don't have Mello Roos, that's very attractive because they can be hundreds of dollars. I've seen them low, $50, $75. Maybe even less, but that's usually, like I said, there's one that's lasts longer than the others. But I've also seen them $500, $600, $700. So areas like Chula Vista or East Lake, east of Chula Vista, is known for high Mello Roos. So is Del Sur, but basically any areas that are newer subdivisions are probably going to have it. So just make sure you look for it when you're house hunting. The biggest thing that I wish I had known when I moved back here, and I had a friend who tried to warn me and I didn't listen to her, is that homelessness is a pretty big problem here. And if it's something that concerns you or you don't want to deal with or anything like that, it's important to know where it is and how you can avoid it. So, and the way my friend described it, she was basically anything south of Del Mar is homelessness. And I don't totally disagree with her. I would say that the worst is going to be around downtown, and anywhere near downtown, going out into North Park, it's still pretty, there's enough. and Hillcrest, all of that's pretty bad. There's some in Mission Valley, and then you're gonna see people, you know, in the other areas, Claremonts and stuff like that, but it'll be fewer just because there's less like business stuff. But no, it's there. Do we have homelessness up here in North County? Absolutely. It's probably going to be closer to the beach and more of the downtown areas. But it's just less, I would say, than anywhere close to downtown. So if that's a concern for you, just know that you should plan around that. Definitely make sure you check out the areas at different times. I moved from the Hillcrest Bankers Hill area in large part, because the homeless problem there had gotten pretty bad. And so I actually moved into Carmel Valley, where I've seen like 2 homeless people since I've been here a year, and everything's just very, very clean. So I very much feel for them. It's a horrible situation. I wish more was being done to help them. But yeah, it's definitely a factor to think about when you're deciding where to move. The next topic I want to discuss is weather. And the reason for this, I know everyone's probably like, wait, the weather's perfect. Like, why do you have to talk about it? There's some things about the weather that I knew consciously, but I had also forgotten, and it really can impact your clothing. So the first thing to know is that we are in a desert. So yes, if you're close to the beach, chances are the weather's going to be like gorgeous almost all of the time. The further inland you get, the hotter it gets. So just know that if you are near the 15, especially if you're east of the 15, it is just going to be hot. Like, it's just hot. But at night, it cools way down. The closer you are to the beach, the smaller that differential is probably going to be. But the more deserty you get, the more inland you get, like, it can drop by 30, 40 degrees and suddenly you're cold. So always know that if you're going out, I always recommend taking a layer, because if it gets dark while you're out, you're gonna freeze to death. So take a jacket, take a, whatever, take something with you so you don't freeze. Along those lines, it also is just cold in the shade often. So I find that I want to have layers with me almost all the time, because San Diego is like, in the sun, it can be like hot. Even on like a 60 or 70 degree day, it can be like really hot in the sun, but then you go into the shade and you're like shivering. So it can be hard if you're like moving around and going from sun to shade to sun to shade. Like, it's hard to dress. So it's all about the layers. I also found that coming from Georgia, where it's either winter and really, really cold and you're wearing parkas and wool jackets and hats and gloves and blah, 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 or it's like insanely hot in summer and you are wearing like tank tops and as little as humanly possible, and shorts and dresses and like as little as possible. Here, I feel like it's an in-between. So when I moved back, I did not have any of the right clothes. I had too many tank tops, not enough short sleeve shirts, and not enough like cardigans or lightweight jackets. All my jackets were like very heavy or didn't exist. I didn't have like lightweight ones. So just know you might have to shop for almost an entirely different wardrobe depending on what you're used to wearing. Also, it's much more casual here than, say, Atlanta, where I was living, where I never was fully dressing properly there because I'm a Californian and we are very casual. But people tend to dress up a little more here. There. So here, if I'm going out, you'll find out if you ever meet me, but I basically wear jeans all the time, like every single day. And if I'm going out somewhere nice, I'm wearing jeans and a nice shirt and cute shoes. Otherwise, I'm just in like jeans and sandals and whatever. So yes, you can do that pretty much anywhere. Like, there might be a restaurant here or there that has a dress code. Mr. A's has a dress code. There are going to be very few places where you can't get away with jeans. And yes, flip-flops are kind of an all-year thing. I feel like the San Diego uniform is jeans, flip-flops, and a Patagonia jacket. Like everyone seems to have the Patagonia jacket, the like lightweight parka kind of style. And that's like everyone wears that because it can get cold in the afternoon. Also, if the marine layer comes in the afternoon, it can cool down a lot. So it's just kind of an all year thing you have to deal with. It's cold or hot and it goes back and forth. So anyway, that is my recommendations for the weather. Just be prepared for it. It's still lovely and beautiful and wonderful and perfect here, but it just takes a little bit of adjustment. All right, the next one is that there are cool places to live in San Diego County that you've never heard of. And this was one that I've had to learn over the past couple of years because when I was here for college, way back when dinosaurs were roaming the world, a lot of the inland stuff was sketch and like you didn't go there. North Park was not a place you would go. Hillcrest was barely a place you would go. You only went there for Corvette Diner. So there's a lot of areas that maybe have a reputation that are now actually kind of cool. So for example, I will use La Mesa. La Mesa is quite a bit inland. I mean, it's still probably 20 minutes to the beach, maybe 30. But people are like, I don't want to live in La Mesa. It's too far, whatever. It's really not that far. And it's super cute. The little downtown is freaking adorable. But if you've never heard of it and you've never known to go look at it and check it out, then you may never look at it. So just know, like, I recommend like getting the map out when you're figuring out where you want to live, whether you're moving here or whether you're like buying a home and you can't afford to buy in the areas you want. There are probably other areas that you don't even know about that are super cool that you can afford. So, you know, there's other ones like San Carlos and I mean, even like Poway has some great stuff. I'm a huge fan of Rancho Bernardo. I mean, it's sleepy. Don't get me wrong. If you're wanting nightlife, don't go to Rancho Bernardo. But it's pretty and it's clean and there's lots of hiking and green and, you know, there's just these areas. So just be open to not the ones that everyone tells you about. Everyone's going to tell you North Park, Little Italy, La Jolla, you know, maybe they're going to recommend Carlsbad, which by the way is awesome and I highly recommend it. And if you want to feel like you're living in San Diego without actually living in San Diego, Carlsbad is the way to go. So yeah, just be open to other things and, you know, go check them out. Drive around, see what there is to see. You might be surprised. And that takes us to getting around San Diego. So San Diego is a very large county and chances are you're gonna have to have a car. So there is very limited public transportation. If you live and work downtown, you might not need a car. If you happen to live on the trolley line that is expanding but is still very limited and work on the trolley line, maybe you don't need a car. But for the most part, you're probably going to need a car. And everything, I feel like wherever you live, your bubble is going to be 15 to 20 minutes. Like everything you do will pretty much be 15 to 20 minutes away. That's just kind of how it seems to always work out around here. And that also means that like certain pockets of people like never leave those pockets. So if you live downtown, chances are you don't leave downtown a lot. You kind of stay down there and go to Little Italy and go to the Gas Lamp and maybe make it up to like Bankers Hill and North Park, but you pretty much stay down there. If you live in North County, you pretty much stay in North County. You're not going to go, you know, to the dentist down in San Diego or in Point Loma or something like that. So people tend to kind of stay in their areas. So just understand that. If you've got friends or something that are in one area, try and stay close to them if you actually want to see them. I did that. I have friends who are here in Carmel Valley. When I first moved back here, I was down in the Hillcrest Bankers Hill area because I wanted to be by restaurants and stuff like that. And I found that I was like 25 minutes from them, which with getting into the car and all of that was really 30 minutes. And I didn't want to go see them unless I was going to like stay for hours and hours and like a day. So I moved closer and now I'm it's easier for me to just hop on over there for an hour and come back. So just think about that if you are trying to be close to certain things or certain people. As for traffic, and you'll see if you go and check out my other video on the pros and cons of San Diego, I said this there as well. I don't think traffic's that bad here, but for some reason it's listed as a problem all the time. I think if you know where it is, you can avoid it. The merge where the 805 and the 5 come together is going to be the worst traffic all the time, either south of it at after 5 or going north up to Encinitas, and then there'll be a break and then it's Carlsbad. But basically anything south of the merge at rush hour is going to be kind of a mess. But it all disappears between 6 and 6:30. So if you're like where I am in Carmel Valley and you want to go downtown for dinner, just make sure that you're going at 6:30 or 7, and that way if you're leaving at 6 or 6:30, the traffic will be moving its way on out and it won't be a horrible drive. So you can plan around the traffic, and it's just really not that hard, but you should think about it when you're deciding where to live versus where you work if you actually have to go into an office. Okay, this one totally shocked me. I literally had no idea on this one, but people go to Tijuana, TJ, for services. I had no idea. So this is a thing. If you live, or if you're just willing to drive to Tijuana, you can get less expensive vet care. A lot of people take their animals down there. You can get less expensive dental care. There's all kinds of stuff you can do down there that is cheaper than here, because we know, especially our healthcare system, and quite honestly, the vet systems right now are getting insanely expensive. So you can go down there and do it instead. You can also fly out of the Tijuana airport to certain places instead. If you're going anywhere in Mexico, a lot of people will drive down to the border, cross over, and fly out of the Tijuana airport instead of paying the San Diego prices. So just know it's one of those random things. I had no idea, but people do it. The next thing I want to talk about is that San Diego is super dog friendly. So if you're like me and you have the cutest dog on the planet and you want to take them pretty much everywhere with you, you almost can in San Diego. So if a restaurant has a patio, unless you have to walk through the restaurant to get to the patio, you're probably gonna be able to take your dog on the patio. You can take your dog into a lot of stores like Walgreens or Nordstrom, which is everywhere, but Starbucks. Anytime I go to Starbucks, I take my dog in. They totally don't care. So a lot of places you can actually take your dog in, like if you're picking up food or whatever. Be careful, like normal restaurant places, they still have to follow a lot of the rules, but some of them will bend it if you're not going to be hanging out in there for a long time. So know that. There's also 4 dog beaches. There are dog parks everywhere. Pretty much every part of town has at least one dog park. So you're never far away from one. I know when I'm out showing property, my dog is usually in the car with me, and it'll be 5 o'clock and he needs to go potty, and I'll just look up where the nearest dog park is and take him to wherever it is. It's usually only 5-10 minutes away, and we go to the dog park. So super dog friendly. Definitely recommend it. A lot of places have dog menus. So the thing to know though is that you should be very careful, because everyone wants to do everything with their dogs. We all want to take our dogs hiking and paddleboarding and do all the fun things with the dog, which is great. But please note that dogs get hot much faster than we do. So even if the temperature is in the 70s, even the low 70s, it can be too hot for your dog. So hike with them in the winter, hike with them in the very early morning hours. But if it is getting at all warm, you may not think it's warm, they do. So listen to them. I have definitely tortured my dog on a hike before I realized where his boundaries were. They'll tell you they're gonna stop, they're gonna lay down, they're not gonna wanna move. And it can be super dangerous and they can die. The other thing is that there is wildlife, which is my next category, that is dangerous to dogs. So rattlesnakes are pretty prevalent, especially if you're going hiking. You're probably going to see a rattlesnake at some point in your hiking career. And dogs are by nature curious, especially things that move. So they may go check it out, and then they get bit, and then they can die. So there are rattlesnake bite vaccinations that you can get. There are also rattlesnake classes that you can take your dogs to, where they basically teach them what a rattlesnake sounds like, what a rattlesnake looks like, and that they should stay away and not go check it out. And so they basically get conditioned to know we don't go near that. Highly recommended if you're going to be taking your dogs out on hikes or anything like that. Definitely a good preventative measure, but be very aware of that. The other thing is coyotes. If you have a small dog, we have coyotes, and the coyotes will take your dog. Don't leave them unattended for even a second. Coyotes can be very sneaky. I can't tell you how many stories I've heard about people who are like, oh, I just went to the mailbox and turned my back on them for a second, and then next thing I know, they were gone. Same with cats. If you have an indoor-outdoor cat, just be prepared that they may not come back, especially if they're going out at all in the evening hours. I've had multiple cats eaten by coyotes when I was little, so just know those are some things. And that leads us into the wildlife category. So we do have rattlesnakes. You definitely need to watch for them. I have seen them since I have been back. Growing up, my dad used to kill them when we lived in Malibu, and he would shoot them and turn them into hat bands. But I saw multiple of them living in Malibu. Here they definitely exist. Make sure if you're hiking, stay on trails. Do not go off the trail. That's when you're going to get bit, and it can be very dangerous. So don't do that. The coyotes are primarily going to be where there's canyons. So if you live near or on a canyon, just expect coyotes to be part of your life. They will. I live on a canyon, and in my complex, I see coyote poop often. I've seen coyotes walking around the complex, and I am very careful with my dog because of that. So just know that they are there, and you just need to be aware of them. There are also mountain lions and bobcats, and you don't see them often, but they can come into neighborhoods as well, so be careful with them. And we do also have some really ugly spiders. There's these flesh-colored ones that I do not know what they're called. I've never looked it up, but they're ugly as ugly can be, and they make these huge webs, and they love to make them where you're like gonna walk through them. So watch for them. I think they usually come out in the fall. I know when I was young and would walk to school, there was a walk path that I used to take to school in high school, and they would build them across the pathway, and they're flesh colored, so you can't see them that well. And I almost walked, and they're big and like thick and juicy. Oh my God, they're so horrible. I literally hate them more than anything. But I've almost walked into their webs multiple times. So watch for those. There's also black widows, and those of course are dangerous, so don't mess with them. If you go hiking at night, you will possibly see tarantulas, scorpions. So, just know that if you want to go hiking at night, that's fine. Do it. Great. A lot of people do that here, especially since that's when it cools down. But you're probably going to see some creepy crawlies. We also have stink bugs. Our stink bugs are different than the stink bugs back east. They are black, like jet black, like almost look like patent leather shoe black. So just know, they're just there. They wander around and whatever, but we have stink bugs. The good things, though, is that we have lots of hummingbirds. We have parrots in some places. Hillcrest especially has wild parrots that are like awesome and amazing, and I love them, and they make me very happy every time I see them. And we have fewer mosquitoes than you will find back east because we have less water. So are there mosquitoes? Yes, there's definitely mosquitoes. I remember when I was little living in Malibu, and I would have trouble sleeping at night because they would buzz in my ear. But there are way fewer than you'll find like if you're sitting outside in the South in the summer. Okay, so there are less. And in general, I don't know. I feel like we have other bugs, but there's just, it's not as bad. It's mostly the spiders. Those are the problem for me. So yeah, know that. I hope this helped. Like I said, also check out my video on the pros and cons of San Diego. It has some things that I've covered overlap, but there's other things that are totally different than this that could be really helpful. Let me know what you think. Did I miss anything? Is there anything that, like, when you moved here, you wish you had known and I should include it in the next video that I make like this? Let me know in the comments below. Please give this a like if it was helpful. I'd love if you would subscribe. It would really help me out. And watch the next video.